the Introverted Business Experience. This here is Terry Samuels. He's a very prominent figure in the SEO community, very well known for, in general, his results and his approach to SEO. But I'm going to let him, of course, introduce himself. Go ahead.
Yeah, hello. Good morning over here in the States. My name is Terry Samuels. I own Salterra Digital Services, and I host SEO Spring Training and Roundtable Mastermind series. I've been doing SEO about 10 years, nine or 10 years. Actually got forced into SEO. I'm actually a software developer, web designer.
Awesome.
And one of my cancer clients was doing something called SEO or paying for something called SEO and didn't understand what it was. And she was paying, I think, like $2,000 a month, 9 or 10 years ago, which is crazy to me. Anyway, so I started doing some investigation into what it was and how it worked, and just started on her. And I got another call, actually from a guy in my church, an insurance agent, and he had his internet or his website had disappeared. And so I had no idea. He was actually my quote unquote first client. I really didn't take on the cancer client just because it was a huge thing. I mean, this was a huge foundation, a huge charity. But I just kind of consulted with them and just told them what I found and learned. But the insurance agent was in, basically he got hit with the first Google animal. He was buying links like crazy. And when I think it was Panda was the first one, when Panda hit, it was just gone. And it took us 13 months to get him back, cleaning up all those backlinks. So I actually learned SEO from getting somebody out of penalty, which is a unique way to learn SEO. So
Oh, that's pretty cool. I don't know if you remember this, but for the people not knowing this, when I first started, I didn't have no budget for courses or anything. So what I did is I looked up every prominent SEO figure, whether it was Stephen Gang, Terry, or Alex. I would message them all questions I had, and if I got lucky, they would answer them. Um, Terry, however, I asked about link wheels. I don't know if you remember this. If this and that was very booming at the time. It's still being used quite often, I would say, but back then it was really booming, and I had zero clue why it was useful, because for me they were just like shitty links, because I didn't understand the whole concept yet. And actually, you and I believe your daughter explained it to me, because I struggled with Twitter. So basically, like I learned a lot from these guys, including Terry. But link wheels was really something you educated me a lot in. Um, but so basically, you're partially responsible for my career in itself. So
that's
pretty cool.
well, and I remember back when you were first getting started, and I mean the reason why I had no problem helping you is because you were asking the right questions. A lot of times when people approach me or other people in the circle, they typically ask us questions that they kind of need to find out the answers to before they ask us, because they're questions that, there's very basic stuff that we all have to do for SEO. And those will never change. And then the other stuff that we might have to do, whether we have somebody in a tough market, tough location, tough niche, whatever, then it's just a matter of, customizing that project and plan. And, when you started doing this stuff and you were asking the right questions, I think at the time I was moderator of Signals Lab. So I know a lot of stuff happened through Signals Lab, and then you and I reached out through Messenger. But that's what I mean. I mean, my favorite thing in this business is teaching this business, because when I started, it sucked. There was no YouTube videos. There was no Facebook groups. There was, basically I went to Barnes and Nobles and bought some books. I've still got 5 or 6 books on SEO from different people. I still buy books. I bought one 2 months ago on SEO, just because I'm always learning, and then I'm always like teaching. And I'm a big tester. That's one thing I learned from the negative SEO, or excuse me, the penalty SEO side, was the testing of all this. So now I'm very adamant about testing. And then making sure that the tests continue, because just because you have one test successful, it doesn't mean that same test is going to be successful in the next market. And that's the people don't realize that it's niche and market, and they're never the same.
Yeah, that's basically one of the reasons why I find it so necessary to niche down as an agency, because I think the issue is if you go all around, of course, there's more potential for earning because some of the industries I am in, they are quite little. But I would say if you niche down, it becomes far more scalable because it's far more likely that the test you have done in the industry is applicable to your other clients as well in that industry. Now, it's not
Mhm.
a cookie cutter thing, but it narrows it down.
It does, and there's we niche down, and I'm going to say maybe not niche down, but down and a little wide. Like I'll do all home services, I'll do all medical. And I have a few lawyers, I don't really like that niche. And it's just because of the way that, the confidence in what can happen and who you're actually dealing with. I actually like dealing with the medical side of the equation, because most of them are, aggressive, they're entrepreneurs, they want to grow, they listen to you.
Yeah.
You become part of their team, you're not just the SEO guy. And I love that. That's the passion of this business, compared to, I have clients, of course, I never hear from, and I get the calls like all of us do, hey, I haven't heard from you for a year, what's going on? And oh, my daughter's friend's gonna do my SEO now. And it's just, so we all get those. But yeah, I think niching down is important, but I will put a caution. When COVID hit, we lost 27 clients in 6 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And so because we were niched down in the medical side, more on the spa side, and they shut down. And so, at no fault of anybody's, ours especially, and the clients, they couldn't afford to keep paying us. Now we did go to an a la carte system, so we would bring them down to a much lower amount to just work on maps, or just work on something to keep some sort of system going, some sort of something happened to the website or something happened to the map. But yeah, it was a rude awakening for us, because I had, at least on the SEO side, I'd really niched down to medical, and then I got put back into home services very quickly, which is okay. Now I'm both, so I don't think I'll ever do just roofers or just AC or just because it was tough. That's a lot of money to lose in 6 weeks. It's like 50 grand. It's a
During
lot.
COVID, I did I worked with one of my agencies. Like I niched down in specific things, specific industries, so that I find it easier to scale. And this
Mm-hmm.
particular industry was very event based. So during COVID, most of them were about to shut down. I actually did the most financially irresponsible thing is I offered to retain all my clients for free, so that because I knew it would build loyalty, and if I would build results for them during that period, they would become even more of a cheerer for me, like they,
Mm-hmm.
they would be cheerleaders. And it worked because I went from on that specific agency from 0 reviews to 12 5-star reviews in like literally a week. Like that blew up. And that went from 20 clients to I'm doing over 47 clients at the moment. I think 47, 48 on that one. Well, it was financially responsible, but you know, um, COVID, we all had to take some measures.
Yep, for sure, 100%. I know a couple people that did that, and that was a good strategy. They were falling so fast, I didn't even think of doing that. They were just, every day we were getting a call, and I was just like, oh crap. Well, first thing I thought of is I've got to take my monthly system and break it into smaller buckets,
Yeah,
so I can do some things for some people, and that definitely helped. And then of course, when everything started opening up, half of them came back. A couple of them completely went out of business. Couldn't
yeah,
last time. But it was just one of those things. It was, I still love the industry. I still am huge. I'm very heavy into the industry. But like I said, it's just one of those things that's like nobody thought of, and everybody's like, oh wow, well that kind of hurt. but we also do, I'm a family business. So my wife and my daughter run the web design, graphic design side, and me and my two boys run the marketing side. And luckily, Elizabeth's side on the web design skyrocketed. So she, the web design side it probably went up, I don't know, 300% in the first 2 months of COVID. So that obviously helped us to get past, so I could kind of reshift, go back more into the roofing, HVAC, the stuff I was into before. So that kind of helped, obviously. Otherwise, I don't know. It was tough. I will never say it wasn't tough. That's a fact. So
Yeah, it was pretty tough, but I think we got lucky with the US being so, like, in Belgium, our rules were extremely strict, right? Like I have a big family, I have like 8 siblings. And if we would go to the store at COVID to get everything for a week, we would have to go with 3 people. Like
wow.
we were only allowed to get X amount of stuff, so we had to go each in and buy stuff because it was that tough here. Like
Mm-hmm.
there were a lot of videos of the US people not wearing masks. If we would do that in Belgium, my mom once went to bring grandchildren back to my brother, which wasn't allowed, but we didn't know it. And she ended up being fined 1,250 right there on the spot. She had to pay immediately. And I think we got lucky with the US because you guys are far more like you guys push back, you know? Like in Belgium, we are like, okay, we will roll with this. Some people said like, yeah, we will not take the vaccine, but if we would compare numbers, that's ridiculously higher in the US. I think we got lucky with that because that made sure that the US opened up far faster than, let's say, Belgium or other parts of the world. You guys were
Mm-hmm.
really open quickly again. So I think we got lucky on that because like we did have 2 months, I believe, or 3 months where I would say business was absolutely bad in certain industries, but they opened up really quickly again. So I think
Yeah.
that was the good part about doing business in the US is you guys actually push back, like, oh, you're gonna impose rules, fuck you. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And I think, everybody just wanted to go get back to work,
yeah,
get back to, doing what we love to do, whether it be, restaurants kind of took it hard, and
yeah,
some restaurants are still today mask mandate here, and they're going broke. It's, they still haven't made the shift of,
yeah,
and for whatever reason, I try not to judge, obviously, but I mean, we all just wanted to get back to work. We all just wanted to, have some normality in our life. I have a 17-year-old daughter and it was probably tougher on her than anybody because she was really social. She was always with her friends, and that was probably the hardest thing that, as our family had to go through, was just watching, our daughter try to make that shift
yeah,
of not being able to, see her friends and do all that stuff. So, I think it was sad all the way around, but I also think it taught a lot of people, it taught us as a business to do things differently and
exactly.
to, kind of protect things a little bit better as far as, making sure we're okay with our finances, making sure that we're mean and, running slim on our tools and our softwares. We all go through, and every December, Elizabeth and I go through all of our tools and software to say, okay, what are we paying for? What haven't we used in a while? What can we delete?
Yeah,
Um, and an agency of our size, that's a lot of money.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I mean, I've got them all. I've got Ahrefs and Majestic and all this stuff, and that all that stuff adds up very quickly. And then you get into AppSumo deals and JVZoo deals, and all of a
yeah,
sudden, you're like, oh my gosh, I think last year we deleted 15 pieces of software in December that we just weren't either using, or we had other pieces that were doing most of the same thing. So, it just, it's something that, we kind of have to go through as agencies or freelancers or whatever, as we start making more money,
yeah.
you start adding more tools, which actually starts cutting into your ROI. So, there's a balance there. And I mean, I think in like for an agency my size, content's our biggest issue, obviously. So coming up with content for all of our clients, making sure we're doing topics right, making sure that, we have clients that get level 1 content, we have clients that get level 3 content. So,
Yeah.
But I think that's the biggest thing as far as in the SEO world of people ask me what's the hardest thing for us, it's content, so
Yeah,
and having content consistent. I'm a big believer in loading blogs consistently. I'm a big believer in content.
yeah,
Um, I used to not think content was king until I started doing some massive tests, and
yeah,
we're actually taking some of our money from next year and the link building side, and we're putting it over towards the content side.
yeah.
So, because I think you can build killer links if you're just pumping content, and so just naturally.
Yeah, I
So that's one
think
of the things
good
for money.
content is absolutely a necessity. Like having good content is king. Of course, it really depends on which industry you're at to
Mhm.
how good the like good is a big word. What I mean is like, let's say if you go into the medical industry, you have to have very specific content. Like I once worked with a supplement company that wasn't allowed to make claims as they weren't FDA approved.
Mhm.
As a result, that content had to be very specifically written. And the big part with content writers, I think, is you can only train them so far. What I mean is content is a creative thing. And while you can create the skeleton when it comes to the system, like I can outsource um, entity stacking. I can outsource custom schema to the specifics, But
Mhm.
with content, that's far more difficult because you either have a good writer or you have a bad writer. Um,
Mhm.
and they also vary in pricing. And it's far more difficult to actually train a writer to meet your standards than it is to train, let's say, a link builder, because it's
Yeah.
far more easier to do that. So yeah, I would say not only is content far more expensive in a lot of cases because you need so much of it, but it's also way harder to scale.
Yeah. 100%. And we use some of the AI tools and writers like that, and most of my plumbers and HVAC and roofers, they don't even know we write blogs. They don't even care. So but that's different compared to one of our lawyer sites, or like you said, one of the medical sites. And I used to have a CPA. I got rid of it because getting content approved from finance side is way harder
Yeah,
and it takes forever. So and so a lot of the stuff that I look at when I take on new clients is how easy is it going to be to get content through the cycle,
yeah,
and because it is becoming such a big deal. And then I'm also been teaching people to regurgitate content. So I just picked up a new medical spa 2 weeks ago, 6 years old. Well, she's got blogs in there from 5 years ago.
yeah,
Well, guess what? We're going to regurgitate those and make them new again. Obviously, we'll see if there's any links or anything to those blogs. 99.9% of them, haven't even been looked at in years. So, and back then, when you and I first talked, 400, 500 words was the standard for
yeah,
content.
yeah,
And now it's 800 to 1,000, so we're taking two or three of those old blogs that are the same topics and putting them into one, and then redirecting all three of those to the new blog. So it's a good strategy, especially if you're in the content game like we are, that to look at your old blogs, if they're over 2 years old, throw some of them up there, make sure there's no links built to them, make sure they're not, don't have any keywords ranking on them, and then regurgitate them.
yeah.
So
For the people listening, if you're wondering about word count, it isn't a given, in the sense of back in the day, having more than 300 words was absolutely necessary because you would have thin content. In the end, your content shouldn't contain fluff, it should be written for the user. That's what a lot of people get hung up on word count. When we use word count, we use it as a matter of standard, a barrier to meet, because then we know that our content is in depth enough. Quick way to actually know um, how in depth your content should be. And what I often do is I look at the top 10 people and I get a average of the word count on those websites, and I look at the top ones at the highest word count and lowest word count, and I make sure that I am either between that or 250 words above. Now, of course, again, as I said, word count isn't a given, but it is something that you shouldn't ignore either way, because if you look at the big numbers, the extremes, then higher word count pages rank better. But that isn't necessarily to do due to the word count, it's because the content is far more elaborate. So your content should be nicely written. That's when we speak about in-depth content.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's definitely better to have more content than less, obviously. I mean, one of the things that I think I talked about this when I spoke at SEO at the beach last year, a year and a half ago. Like Neil Patel, he ranks for 19,000 SEO terms on one page, and that one page is 30,000 words. So, again, is that scalable? Well, no, it's not scalable. But the idea is that the blogs, consistency in blogs, your pages. Obviously, we use Quora as our big tool for on page.
Yeah.
And so we definitely want to make sure that we're better than the rest. We definitely don't want to be lower, but we want to be better than the rest, especially in tough markets. Obviously, if we're in a small town or a medical spa or roofer or whatever, we don't need to go to those extremes. But in Phoenix, and if you have an HVAC company in Phoenix, then you're going to every extreme you can think of. That's the only way you're going to rank.
Yeah.
So, and so it's just an idea of making sure that the content is always good, the content's siloed properly. Internal linking's huge. We use Link Whisperer, which is our favorite linking tool for our sites. And it'll make recommendations of where links should be, which I think is important. I don't think you should use it blindly, of course, because I think it's still a matter of making sure your anchor texts are the way you want them and not a machine that wants them. So, and then you tie that all in with the schema that we do, and it all just seems to work right now. So, we're curious about the helpful content update. We're not seeing any fluctuations. We've seen some articles out there about people, they call them doorway pages and everything. So in our testing, we haven't seen nothing yet. So, we test like I said, we test it all the time. We don't just blindly assume, or do we take other people's words for it? So our markets are our markets, and I'm a big believer in making sure that your markets, that you're, like you said, niching down, picking an area, know that community, know that market, and then just write content around it.
Yeah.
Is the content helpful? Yeah, I think the content's helpful, but I do agree that when I used to build mass page sites, I do think those are getting less and less credit. So, we don't do many mass page sites anymore, but we will go after 15, 20, 30 cities at one time on one site. So, but we won't go after 300 or 400 like we used to do. So,
well, I think the biggest issue right now with mass page sites is getting them indexed. Like indexation has become far more difficult than it was back in the day. I even remember back when you could just submit and just ask for indexation. You can still do that, but now you're not even guaranteed that you're indexed. Back then, you would be on Google in no time, and then
yeah.
you could even automate that. So indexation is a big issue, and I've actually been playing around with that. I would say it's a rather an unethical way, but it's just because I like to test things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know WordPress. Yeah, it's WordPress Automatic, the plugin.
Mm-hmm.
It's very popular with news sites.
Yeah.
Obviously, for people wondering how to make news sites, I will send an SOP in the description. Though I do not think that news sites are that amazing, they are great for indexation. And something I've been playing around with is actually the best example is I have a Dutch baking website.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at more popular affiliate websites and um, let's say the French or English industries, also baking. And then I would use WordPress Automatic to automatically translate that content. I would filter out all the obviously brand names, and then you have unique content, but you can also, due to the flow of content and the accuracy of it, I was able to make those. Well, it's an affiliate website, but I was able to make it a news website. So I
Mm-hmm.
also did the same thing for my Dutch agency website just to see if it's really useful. And yeah, the indexation is through the roof, but then you have the issue with having very low quality content. You know, it's still unique, but it's low quality content. But on the other
Yeah.
hand, it's really useful if you have a mass page website, you make it a news website, and then yeah, you can trick it into indexing your landing pages far quicker. I think I haven't tried
Mhm.
it, but I think that's feasibility. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think indexing's never going to get any easier just because the internet's growing so fast. I think, obviously, I think like a lot of people, Google has a bandwidth problem, and it's not surprising. I mean, you think with that they've got to do every single time, and they've taken away some tools, like fetch and render and stuff like that that we used to be able to see, how far how far that crawled, what days it crawled, was it a partial crawl, so we used to have tools like that, but I think nowadays is just consistency in content.
Yeah.
Every once in a while we'll drag all the URLs from a site and we'll throw them into Omega Indexer. I've got a couple indexer tools that we use just to throw them in there just to see. We do go to Search Console. I have one guy that just spends his life in Search Console, and every time it says, crawled but not indexed and all those pages, and he'll go up and we'll add a paragraph to him, he'll re-index them, stuff like that. But I think that's more of a Search Console problem than it is an actual indexing problem. So when I was at Rockstars 2 or 3 weeks ago, there's some, people like, Carolyn that does a lot with indexing and testing indexing. Obviously Ted Kabitis that does a lot with indexing and stuff. And so, a lot of the problems that we're all facing is just, that's why we're all facing it. It's a Google problem,
Yeah.
and every once in a while we'll find out, like when big ranking jumps happen to your website, it's not typically anything you do, it's just typically Google now found some stuff that's been there for a while and now he's giving you credit for it. And so and that's good for us, but it's also, I mean, I think last test I haven't done a test in about 2 months, but the last test I did, one blog took, on a very authoritative site, took 4 days to get indexed.
Yeah.
And then on a brand new site, it took almost 3 weeks to get indexed.
Yeah.
So just naturally without any pushing or, we obviously have IFTT set up on everything. And so they're getting those links. But yeah, I think it's an issue that everybody has to deal with. It's like website speed. It's one of those things that, once you get it to under 3 seconds, which is our rule, under 2 seconds, there's still people out there that want it under 1 second. Well, how much time are you spending on that compared to how much benefit you're going to get from that?
Yeah. Exactly.
And the same way with indexing, if you're loading up, 600 blogs a month, how much time are you going to really spend on, geez, when is this going to index? So as a scaling thing, it's tough for us to sit there and say, hey, we need to go ahead and index this stuff and make sure. But we do have the Search Console guy, I call him the dude. And he just, like I said, he spends his life in there, and he'll, send me a report and say, hey, this client had 17 pages that weren't indexed, and we got, 11 of them indexed. Great. So, but
Now, with all this going on, would you say SEO is in itself a hard thing to learn or rather easy?
I think SEO is getting continually harder only because of the stuff that people are doing wrong. I do a lot of audits, and these audits, a lot of the stuff from these audits are things that should not have been done. They either learned it somewhere without testing it and just implemented it on a website or whatever. And so I think that's the hard part. If it's a brand new website, I think SEO is pretty, I'm not going to say easy, but I think it's pretty reasonable to get where you want to go. The bad thing about bad SEO is it takes twice to 3 times as long to get fixed and then back up.
Yeah.
So, a lot of the stuff that I see, it's just typical, and people will argue, the one I did an audit on 3 weeks ago, 27 H1s on the homepage, no H2s. The H3s were contact us, all the fluff type internal linking stuff that doesn't matter, and that's, right, wrong, or indifferent. That's just not good SEO.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. Can you sit there and argue with me that that's not going to affect rankings? Well, sure. But, is it good SEO? No, it's not good SEO. So, and so the biggest thing, like I said, that we see is that, what people that like one of my main questions that you have to ask, or I'm going to talk to you about, is have you had SEO done on your website and who did it? And I'm
Yeah.
not the type of person to sit there and say, well, they did this wrong, this wrong, and this wrong. I just come back and say, well, I'm going to have to do this and this and this to fix it.
Yeah.
So, and that's the bad part of SEO. And I feel for, these, I got a guy right now, this guy was paying $5,000 a month, and it just breaks my heart because he is, and he was paying it for over a year. And a lot of it I blame on the business owner. But he was getting these reports and just looking at these PDF reports and going, oh, hey, everything's good. But he wasn't seeing the phone calls. And I'm like, okay, well, if everything's good and you're not seeing the phone calls, then everything's not good. And so we did an audit on his website, and all the links that were built seemed like money robot links,
Yeah.
all subdomain links. And so it was horrendous. And he had like 15,000 of these subdomain links, no real links, not even a press release link, a news link. So it was really kind of horrendous. I felt really bad for the guy. So,
Yeah.
but the idea is that, just, I don't know, frustrated. And I think Facebook is a big part of this. I think some of these SEO groups are a big part of it, that people just take these things and they'll ask a question, take some of the answers and just implement it, without actually going out and seeing, what it'll do if you do implement it. And so one of the things I tell people, I try to teach 5 people a year how to do this business. And my first thing is go out and get your own domain. Let's go get a testing domain, get 5 of them, you can get one host and put all 5 of them on one host. So it's not a real cost thing, but you need to have something to be able to say, hey, if I do this, that something that Terry recommended, is it going to work or is it not going to work? Well, the only way to do that is to test it. So, and don't test it on client sites. That's just.
I do agree, but I think SEO in itself is a rather easy thing to learn. I think the more difficult part about SEO is, a lot of people, they are in SEO for money, which I get, you have to live, but the barrier to, like, the entry level barriers for SEO is so extremely low that
It is
anybody who
100%.
can smooth talk his way to a client is considered an SEO. And yeah, sure, like we're talking about a lot of the micro aspects when it comes to indexing, if this then that, that's all very important, but you can perfectly rank websites if you just write good content and good links, and that isn't very difficult to learn. The issue is that a lot of people, they, in my opinion, they fail at, all right, I did this, now how is the website reacting to it? They
Yeah.
have no clue about data or how to get the data, and they have no clue on how to read it and understand it, and how to translate that into an actionable strategy. And I see that a lot causing a lot of issues. And I'm not one either to say, yeah, you're doing this or that wrong, because I believe in doing business with positivity, right? Like my competitors, I don't consider them competitors, but I do have some competitors out there, and I find this very bad for the clients. But this one particular competitor screws up every time, and the clients come to me. So it's my lead generation guy. um, and that's merely because not that they don't grasp how to create good content or not how to build backlinks. It's merely so that they do not understand how to identify good backlinks because they cannot understand data, or at least don't know how to get it, and they look at Ahrefs, but they see the same Chinese report that they're representing to their client because they have no clue what's on there.
Yeah,
I
100%.
think that's the big issue, is they read, like, they join SEO Signals Lab, and it's an amazing group. I love Steven Gang, but if you're just going to grab some of the answers and think, all right, this is a given, and I'm not going to do any form of verifying that this actually works in my industry, and you don't spend time learning the actual foundations, you're going to lose out. Like, then you're considered a bad SEO because you need to be able to translate the data into a strategy.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's the biggest thing, is that, I mean, that's, and I get it. It's, I mean, I have a client right now that, we're just not getting along real good. He's doing fine. He's just, a different type of, manager, business owner type person.
Yeah.
Misses a lot of calls, that type of thing. And, and the bad thing is that, he'll say, hey, this guy can take over this project for $199 a month. And I'm like, go for it.
Yeah.
You'll be back, I mean, it's just, but that's the thing in this business is that people will get conned into those type of things.
Yeah.
And there's hard costs involved in this business. And if you're just in it to pocket money, which a lot of them are, then you're going to be one of those people that's going to be suffering in 2 or 3 years if you can make it that long. But
Yeah.
but the idea is that you can't charge somebody $1,000 a month and just pocket $1,000. Is
Exactly.
you have to be able to do the things you need to do to be able to rank.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the biggest thing that I hate about this industry is that if you leave me and go to Brent, then Brent's going to look like a hero for the next couple months because all of my work is now starting to kick in.
Yeah.
And so, Brent's going to be like, wow, look at this, man. We've been with me 2 weeks and we've increased rankings. So,
Yeah, exactly.
And the client doesn't know that it
Yeah.
takes longer than that to do that. But that's the thing that's just disproportionate or whatever word it is that, kind of breaks our industry is like, people will be like, yep, hey, my ranking's going to go down if I leave. Well, no, not right away. So, but the idea is that to do the right thing, take care of people, become more than just the SEO guy. I'm sit on a board of 3 of my clients. I'm the marketing guy. So, I do all sorts of marketing and lead gen for my clients. Actually, the SEO part of it is probably the least I do. I like doing AdWords. I like doing lead gen. I like building rapport immediately.
Yeah.
I don't ever take on a client and just say, hey, it'll take 6 to 8 months to rank. We'll talk every month, but I always start off lead genning. So whether I do some pay-per-click, whether I do some Bing ads, I'll always start getting their phone to ring as soon as I possibly can, because even though they say and know it's going to take 6 to 8 months, whatever the time is, at month 2 or 3, they're saying, hey, I've paid you X amount of dollars and I haven't seen, well, remember the conversation? So as an agency, we just said, we're going to take some of the money that we get and we're going to put it towards some lead gen systems that we do. We do a lot of email marketing. We're a huge go high level company. So we do a lot of lead gen through email marketing and stuff like that for clients. But yeah, that's one of the things I try to teach most all is learn SEO, but don't just be the SEO guy.
Yeah.
Do more.
Actually, that's very interesting that you mentioned that, because I think, and I fucking hate this. I'm currently working with a client and he crashed severely, right? But back then he was ranking really well. Obviously he crashed because this guy before and he built a lot of money robot links, very thin content, the whole ordeal. But he said, yeah, but I was ranking well, but I wasn't seeing leads. And this is something I see in a lot of cases is SEOs, they're so obsessed with rankings. I'm going to be fairly honest, but I don't give a shit about rankings. All I care about is the incoming revenue for the client, because that's the real numbers that count. It's really cool to say, yes, I am ranking first on Google. Yeah, you can't take that to the bank, it's the leads you get. And sure, you have to rank in most cases to actually get money. But that isn't always true either. If you do your keyword research well, that's what's important. And then you might rank for far less keywords, but get double or triple the amount of leads. I think a lot of SEOs in general, I think if as an SEO, you need to be focused on the revenue of your clients and not so much the overall rankings.
Well, yeah, and that's I mean, we focus on traffic and conversions.
Yeah.
I'll even help clients, on the sales side, which most of them need help with. But and a lot of SEOs go after the wrong keywords. I mean, they're not going after converting keywords. They're going after what we call vanity keywords.
Yeah, exactly.
Personal injury lawyer Phoenix. Well, I'm sorry, that's not a converting term. That's a bunch of terms for people to spam you and go out. I mean, it's not somebody hurt in a car wreck and he's going to search personal injury lawyer Phoenix. That's not a converting term. So, it's a vanity term. It's something, but most lawyers want it because they want to brag to their friends that they're number one for personal injury lawyer Phoenix. So we have to educate our clients also into, well, why are you going after all these words that only get 20 searches a month? Well, because we're going after 300 of these words to get 20 searches a month. So, and you do the math, and now you start looking at, now you're getting people that are actually looking for your service. They're not out there to spam you. They're not out there to send you a free report and try to get your SEO business and put you in an email marketing campaign, a spam campaign. So, so a lot of the first conversations that we have with clients once they come on board is saying, yep, here's your keywords, but here's the ones that convert. We're going to go after these, but we're going to focus on these converting terms.
Yeah.
So, and once they get that, then they kind of get more on board, most of them, because it is our job to educate these clients. It is our job to not just take their money and send them a PDF report. I hate PDF reports. That's why I built live reporting. I want people to see exactly what I see from yesterday. I'm not going to send them a PDF. They log into their dashboard and they can see everything that I see. How are we doing on calls? How are we doing on emails? Are we reaching our goals? All the different things that we've set up to show them what we're doing and how we're doing it. It makes retention of clients a hell of a lot easier. Yeah, I can send them a PDF weekly also, but they like to log into their dashboard and see what's going on. And it helps them, get more on board of the process. Because I tell people, you can't just hire me and just ignore me for the next 12 months. I'm not your guy. We have monthly strategy calls, and those monthly strategy calls are for a reason. I'm not at a point anymore, as you are, that I have to take everybody that calls me. I don't, and so I care more about growing your business than more about, getting you 5 leads a week. I want to grow your business. I want to grow your brand. I want to get more authority and trust in your company. I'm not the SEO guy, but I'm the marketer that's going to help you succeed and put a price tag on your website. If you're getting 3,000 organic hits a month on your website's worth money. But if you're paying 30,000 a month pay-per-click and you have no organic rankings, once you shut off that pay-per-click, your website's not worth any money.
Exactly.
And so I teach that to a lot of my clients, saying pay-per-click's great. I love pay-per-click, but it can't be the only vehicle, especially when you go to exit. And so, we always try to make sure that we teach our clients and we just help them grow as far as, their business, and making sure that, I asked my clients after I just talked to one of my roofers 2 months ago about what's your exit plan. I hate to say it, dude, you're getting old, and we're friends. I can talk to him like that, but he's just starting to think about his exit plan. So I have a business broker that'll talk to him for free and just kind of lay out are you doing these following things right? And then, and then continue to have a relationship with this person, so,
No, I love that, because for me, my clients, I consider every client, well, a friend, in the sense of I do all the communication myself, and at this point I can say that is most of my time. Like, I don't have to do the SEO work anymore, but I like to. Um, but it's all like I came to the point where one part of my onboarding form is actually where it asks people whether they want to be educated more so in depth on SEO, how many times they want to be reported on, and they can choose between once a week, twice a week, every 2 weeks, and once a month. But I'm never going lower than once a month. And I share everything, like I have client roadmaps with every SOP from my guys, and they get exactly that. And you could think like, yeah, Brent, but they will just go implement this themselves. No, actually, it's a big ass trust builder, like they know what's going on. They like when something is done, I present it to them immediately. I explain it to them, but they also know how it is done, what the usage of it is. Every client, when they sign on, they get a free SEO handbook, that I've written, so that they know exactly what it is I do. And I think education for a client is just as important as vetting, like for a client, because if you're just presenting a PDF report, your client's going to get frustrated. They do not know what you're presenting them. like, yeah, in the beginning, those rankings going up, that's going to be enough. But after, let's say, 3 to 4 months, if you're
Yep,
not generating income, you can present them whatever you want. They don't care, you know?
for
So,
sure.
yeah, you have
Yeah.
to educate your clients, you have to show them the process and go as in depth as possible. And if you're scared that your clients are going to hop off, because you share value, then you're doing something wrong in your acquisition funnel, or well, perhaps your fulfillment is the issue. But I think you have to go very value driven with your customers.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, we do a lot of white label. I take care of, I don't know, probably 8 or 9 agencies, and I do schema for probably 12 agencies, I think. And so, a lot of things that we do, and I teach them everything, especially on the schema side, but for them to implement what we do is a cost to them. It's
Yeah,
cheaper for
exactly.
them to hire me one
Yeah,
time and let my staff do it. They get all the templates, they get all the files, they can continue to do it themselves, no problem. But I'm the same way. If you have the bandwidth to do what I do, great, go do it. It's just easier on me, so and it's the idea is that you want to make sure that you're consistent in whatever you do, consistent in content, consistent. Don't just go out and start link building. A lot of sites in a small town, in a small niche, you don't need to link build that much.
exactly.
So I had one guy contact me on Messenger a few weeks ago, and he said, "Hey, can you look at this and tell me what I should do for link building?" And it was in a town of 50,000, and
Yeah,
it was a decent term, but there was like 6 people in that city that did the same thing. It's just like, dude, you don't need to do aggressive link building. Put that money towards content, write content, be the authority for that niche in that city. And don't just write about the niche, write about the community, write about the whole thing. Again, be the resource in your market. And it doesn't matter if you're a plumber, be the resource in the market, be the resource, write about, like, we're gonna have Super Bowls coming here in January. So
yeah,
we're already writing on our home services websites about the Super Bowl,
yeah,
because we want that relationship for that content and for that authority. It's not that we're going to get a whole bunch of people coming to the plumber site to look at Super Bowl stuff, but we want to relate that to our business, to our geography, to
yeah.
our, to the things that we do about the community.
No,
And,
exactly.
you know, and so that's what I tell people is don't just look at plumbing keywords, look at what's going on in the community,
Yeah,
find something that people aren't doing, become the resource for that thing. And, we all build local pages, we build neighborhood pages, and all that's to kind of expand the reach of your GMB, basically.
yeah.
So
Exactly. And I think that that's very important. Is it's not just an SEO. I think any business should make it a rule is be problem solved driven.
yep.
Holy shit. Because I feel if your website is oriented towards solving a problem, well, people are looking for your service for
Yeah,
a solution, but that's
exactly.
only 3 to 7%. The rest of them are either problem aware or not yet problem aware. You need to help them, you need to educate them, because otherwise you're going to miss out on a bunch of money. And yes, email marketing is very important. And well, I don't like to do it, but DM marketing is quite good as well. um Remarketing in general is very important, but if you are problem solved based, like value driven, then it's going to be far easier for you to actually get those customers. Don't look at how quickly can I get those leads, more so
Hmm.
like, yeah, am I actively helping those people? Because not every lead that I get, like most of the clients I talk with 2 to 3 months before they actually sign on, and that's great. I love it that way, because every client of mine, and this is what I love about my clients, is they become a part of my business in the sense of they will actively look for opportunities for me to get more business, and they want nothing in return. But that's only because you have to take your time. You have to be the guy that solves the problems. Look at Amazon. There's a reason they become so important. Like you no longer have to go outside. That's $1 billion problem. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. Yeah, I get it. and that's the whole thing is just, like I said, I like just making sure that people just don't just think SEO. SEO is a great business.
Yeah.
I love SEO, but I also like being more creative and, trying to meet the goals that the client has.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I said we look at each client differently. Nobody gets thrown in the same bucket. I really don't like, models like that to where, hey, you pick one of three prices and just throw you in there.
Yeah.
I kind of like the customized approach. And of course, that approach changes every time we have a strategy call, or it doesn't. It might be working, we keep it the same, or we might add to it, or we might upsell a little bit, do something different the next month.
Yeah.
Especially this month, we're doing a lot of creative stuff because people are trying to get some stuff, this month before taxes for their company taxes for this year. So, and we bring that up, I'll say, hey, if you want to do an annual plan, and save 1 month, pay your annual plan instead of monthly, so, some people take advantage of it. Some people don't, totally fine, but the option's there if they need to.
That's
So,
actually quite smart. I didn't think of that. So that's
yeah.
something I will be implementing.
Because if you look at the dollar amount, I mean, it's something that's good for them. It's good for us. Yeah, we do 1 month free, but our hard costs are our hard costs, and we shouldn't have a problem. Hold on, let me let my dog out just a second.
Go ahead.
All right, sorry about that.
Don't worry.
So, but yeah, no, I think it's great. I'm really happy where you've been and where you're going. You're one of the people, like I said, that I loved helping at the beginning, and you've taken it and ran with it, and it's, you're being successful, and you're doing it the right way, which means you're going to continue to be successful. So yeah, I'm very excited for where you're at in your journey.
I appreciate that a lot. And for the people that don't notice, back in the day, uh, well, there are a lot of courses, and back then there were even, I would say, that there was a lot of the Web 2.0 stuff that was going on around then, in the sense of everybody was building those expired tumblers and stuff. Um, but I'm the kind of guy, I only like to learn from verifiable sources, because it's I once lost a $900 client in the very beginning of my journey, because somebody promised to teach me, um, which was stupid of me, because I should have done vetting. But at that point, a broke guy, I was money driven, obviously. I'm glad I lost that client, because obviously that wasn't a good move either way. So he hopped off before he even signed on. Um, but that's why I love to learn from verifiable sources. And at that time, there's one thing certain, and as Terry here was, and still is, a very well verifiable source. And if you pay attention, I think he speaks at a lot of conferences, many of which you even host yourself, right? Rockstars is one of yourselves. You have a hand in the Mastermind Mansion, if I'm correct. So,
No, the rock stars is Dory.
uh,
Dory's a dear friend. We partnered on one a couple years ago to
yeah,
do
that's
back during COVID. And then we do the roundtable mastermind, which we do 3 or 4 different places around the country every year. And then obviously SEO spring training is our big one. That's the one in April next year.
yes. Yeah.
And again, I started doing, or Elizabeth and I started doing conferences because we went to these conferences, and we were actually house flippers before we became this company. So, and back in the house flipping days, we went to a lot of conferences, and again, it's just like, raw, not really any kind of meat that you can take and go and do stuff with. And when we started going to a few SEO conferences, we saw the same thing, that it was a lot of stuff, but nothing really that you could go out and implement, especially if you're brand new. You didn't have the money or the resources to do what they were talking about. Even if they were giving you the step-by-step instructions, it wasn't viable to do. So, and so we did our first conference in 2019, and it was just awesome. I did it differently. No recording, no pitch, and the speakers were required to give something that people can implement either right now or that night in the hotel. And that's the way we've always done it. Is I'm a big believer in teaching, not just fluffing, so to speak. And so, when people come to our conferences or masterminds, they actually get stuff that is going to help their business, and they actually meet the relationships of people that are, I mean, these people are coming, they're going to meet people, the best SEOs in the world. And, and that's the idea, is that nobody can come to my conference as a speaker or presenter or whatever and speak and then get on a plane and fly away. I don't understand even that concept, but I want our presenters to meet and mingle and hang out with the people at the conference, so they can get the information that they need. They can ask the questions that they need, that they're struggling with. They can build a relationship with somebody that can help them, in the future. I've got people I can call anytime, and so I love introducing people to, I call them my friends list and my family list. And, we had 81 speakers want to speak at SEO spring training. That's a lot of speakers to go through. And so, and that's because I think of the reputation of our conference it's a great place to come and learn. It's a great place to come and hang out. It's a great place to network. We do follow-ups for 2 or 3 months after the conference. We have a Facebook group that people can come in and ask questions anytime they want, and they'll be answered. So it's not just 3 or 4 days with a bunch of people. It's a growth. We call it a growth factor. So if you want to grow your business, whether you're a freelancer and start an agency, if you're an agency and you struggle with sales, or whatever the circumstance is, we try to cover those bases for people.
Yeah. So it's actually a really nice thing, because I often, like, I had some opportunities to speak even in Belgium, and the main reason I didn't yet is one of those forms to make sure that you're signed up, is you have to write something that you can, a subject you can talk elaborately about for 90 minutes or something like that. And the thing is, I don't want to do that. I hate those conferences that just rehashed bullshit that you can't go and use, because that, like, if I say something, the person watching this, for example, I need them to at least have something that they can go do something with, whether it's change their acquisition or change their SEO strategy. I don't care, but I like, it's, if you speak on a stage, like, it's necessary that at least somebody goes home with useful information that they can apply. And then I'm not talking about the rich guys who go to every conference. No. For me, everybody should have something that's useful to them and something to educate them during that period. That's the main reason why I haven't spoken yet. It's because most, like, if you look at most conferences, there's a lot of really high quality people speaking, but it's just more so a bragging fest than something else. And I believe that it was Keith Evans. He was on a podcast episode yesterday that I pre-recorded. Amazing guy, by the way. He said the same thing. Like, if you go to the big conferences with stages, you, like, yeah, sure, they are great in their own use, but the real value is when people are comfortable and they are mingling, and you're having fun, and that's when they start sharing. That's when the real education starts. And I think that's really cool about those round the table conferences with, exclusivity in there. The need to teach people, I think that's far too uncommon, and it's something I should, well, become more of a thing.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I mean. The masterminds are definitely different than the conference environment. The masterminds are typically a lot more technical. If you're a brand new person coming to a mastermind, you might struggle a little bit with the content of a mastermind. But that doesn't stop you from coming and getting your questions answered and meeting people and networking and, building relationships and all that stuff. So I think I think both are good, but I think, like, Rock Stars that Dory did a couple weeks ago was just fantastic. The content was good. The speaker lineup was good. The events were good. We got to hang out, we got to do things. I mean, it was just overall a good conference experience. And, those are the ones that I enjoy going to. I've been to one, I don't know, a couple of years right before COVID hit. And I think there was 10 of us there and only 4 of us were hanging around afterwards. The other 6 speakers were just gone. I even wanted to talk to one of them, and I just thought that was odd. I just thought it was, I kind of questioned myself, and it was an expensive conference, and it was in a very expensive place also. So you got, not only do you have to think about where the conference is going to be, how much is the conference going to cost, but then how much is it going to cost to fly there? How much is it going to cost for the hotel? How much, so just because you pay, $2,000 for a conference, you have to include all those factors. So you might be at $5,000, going to a conference, and you come back and go, well, what was the $5,000 worth it, so to speak. And so we don't really want everybody to ask those questions at our events, because we want to make sure the value's there. And the value comes, obviously during, before, during and after, because we continue the value to go. But the idea is just to make sure that we can get people that do want help, that can't get help, that, somebody that's always wanted to meet Clint Butler, or always wanted to meet Ted Kubitis, or always wanted to see Terry, or whoever, to make sure that we can provide that access to say, hey, we're just human, but we've been through what you've been going through. We're here to help. We're here to help you grow and succeed. There's no, I don't consider anybody an SEO competitor, except, like Squarespace and Wix and Weebly and these people that, GoDaddy, that claim to do SEO. Those ones I have a hard time with. But if you're 2 miles from me and you're an SEO person and you kind of quote unquote compete with me, I'll teach you. It doesn't matter. There's plenty of business for everybody out there. It is getting harder, especially with, what we have going on here in America, and as in all the world, is the whole, everything, all the prices are going up. Everybody's got less cash, and it's cyclical. Hopefully it won't be this way in a couple of years, and everybody will be back on a fast track again. But I love the business. I love helping. I love talking. I love teaching people. And I like just making sure that people can do the right things for the right reasons. Don't go out and rip people off. If you rip people off, you're going to get caught. It'll be a bad deal, especially if somebody in this industry finds out about it. It can be, just don't rip people off. Just be honest with people, and and just remember that your job is to help them succeed. If you do that, you're going to succeed. Plain and simple.
Exactly. We're running out of time, so I want to thank you very elaborately. Thank you so much for appearing. That means the world to me, especially since I learned a lot from you. It was a great podcast. I've learned a lot myself, so I bet a lot of people get value from it. Before we go, though, is there something you want to tell people that are watching, listening, some plug,
Not really. I mean, I'm pretty transparent. A lot of people know what I do. Like I said, our conference in April is going to be awesome. It's going to be in Scottsdale, Arizona, which is probably one of the coolest places to be in April. And like I said, the lineup is great. Plus I've got more people coming that aren't on the speaker list. So we're going to have people that are going to be, kind of roaming around the room, so to speak. Ask me anything people, I call them. So even though they're not on stage, these people have everything you could want to know about different aspects of SEO, sales, retention, all the stuff that people come to events to find out more about. And then, like I said, just, reach out to me. I have no problem. I tell people, just as a quote, just respect people's time. I literally get tons of messages, obviously. But I want to help people. I want to make sure that they're on the right track. Especially if you're sincere. If you're sincere, I'm helping a guy right now. He's really struggling. A lot of stuff that he's struggling with, he didn't fix from the old people. And so he's now taking the blunt of it, which is unfortunate. So I'm helping him try to get that fixed. But reach out before it gets too late. His thing is he might lose this client next month. So that's kind of the wrong time to ask for help. So if you're struggling with a project or with a client, ask for help early instead of when you're about to lose something. So Nobody likes to lose something, but again, it's just, we've all been there. You know, I mean, I lost a client 3 weeks ago for no reason to mine, no reason to his. He's going through a divorce. You know, nothing I can do about that. You know, but again, you know, it hurt. All of them hurt. You know, especially like you said, when they become friends. You know, I feel more bad for their marriage than I do their business, but their business is going to suffer too because they're both owners. So somebody's going to lose in the process, which is very important. So, but no, I appreciate you asking me to be on. I have a lot of respect for you and what you're doing. I love seeing you grow. And yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Awesome. Pleasure is all mine. And thank you so much for appearing, man.
Oh boy.